people with money see this value now. So that's why Bitcoin will never go to fucking zero. It's never going to zero.
Never.
It's never going to zero.
Not a chance.
It's
Biggs and Bogs.
Ooh, that sax solo.
Oh, we've done this one before, I think. Oh. Hey guys, and welcome back to your Future Hand with Biggs and Bogs. I'm Marty Boggs.
And I'm Julian Biggs.
And we got Spencer on sound and screens. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We like to come at you about once a week or so and talk about some subjects that we believe will benefit your future hand. So smash that like button, wherever it is these days, and let's get right into it. What are we up to today, and how can we plan for tomorrow? Julian.
Thanks, Marty. Today, it's we're coming into the end of the year, so this potentially is the last episode of the year. I might come to you with some updates, so that something to keep in mind with the holidays around the corner, Christmas being next Sunday, and that's when we film our episodes. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to have some maybe 2023 predictions. What do we see coming into the end of this year? And I think we'll probably touch on the FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried thing again, because there's some things going on there. But, of course, as always, we're going to get into it with a little bit of a market scope.
Market scope.
So we pulled out to the weekly, just kind of zoom out a bit, and things are a little cleaner on the weekly. We get a better perspective. So each one of these candles represents 1 week in time. Let's get zoomed in. We're looking at the full year here. So let's get zoomed in, see what the hell is going on this last couple of weeks. So we entered this semi-bullish run that people want to call it. I'm not even going to call it a bullish run, but in the grand scheme of things, when we have that much bearish momentum, things eventually going to have to slow down and level out as the RSIs and the other indicators kind of reset themselves, right? So that's kind of what we saw here, and I don't believe that it was any real bullish run that was just happening, in my opinion. So we hit the bottom of the 15.4 that we predicted here on your future hand. And eventually made them move back up to 18K. But we talked about that here. We said there were some things that could potentially lead this back to a test of 18K, and that's exactly what happened. You can see we broke that apex there, licked into 18K, and found our way right back down to 16.7 at the time of filming this video, back underneath the line of resistance coming from the all-time high. So,
Just a nice little retrace there.
yeah, just to retrace things to kind of get the RSIs off bottom, because we have kind of bottomed out the RSI on the daily and the weekly here, which is a good sign. It means we are nearing bottom. Do I believe this is the real bottom? I don't think so, because we're going to go over to the SPX in a minute and see what's going on with the world economy, and then we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the inflation rates, the CPI, and
So I'd say if you're
interest rates
on a
too.
basic cycle theory, then this is bottom,
Right.
date-wise, cycle-wise, block-wise,
Yep.
all that.
Yep.
But we have so many other things going on in the world right now
Yep.
that might,
Yep.
throw this off course just a little bit.
And it, yeah, totally could. So I'll go into the daily, because we've always looked at the daily here on the show, and we talked about...
But that's always what they want you to think. Don't forget that. Sorry. Continue, Julian.
Yeah, you have to definitely, don't. You have to definitely think for yourself. Critical thinking is important here, because they steer the narrative, and the narrative steers the market.
When they make you think the world is going to end, that's usually bottom.
So you have to think for yourself, and you can't be believing what you're seeing in the mainstream news. That is for certain. Anyway, so let's look at the daily here, where we bottomed out. So we talked about coming into the 17.2 to 15.4 range. That worked out absolutely perfectly. You can see that we hit the bottom of the 15.4, and this is the 17.2 line at the top of this here, and this is exactly where we ran into that apex, got this little foolish fake out, you know what I mean? Get some hype going, and then the markets dump on you again.
Well, they also just soak up some of the shorts, right? Quick little short suck.
We marked this range out 2 months ago. And when we dropped into it, we said it was probably going to play out till January. I've got January marked out here, and it seems to be exactly what's happening. We told you not to get excited. Don't believe all the hype on YouTube, because they're just forcing content out, and they have to. And I understand that, because that's their business. But here we want to be realistic here. This is what it is. It's fucking boring right now. It's probably going to drag out longer, and that's just.
But it's honestly perfect for DCA, and
it's perfect for DCA.
Perfect for DCA.
Absolutely.
Like once a week, whatever you're doing, this is a nice time.
I do want to look at the SPX again. The S&P 500, top 500 publicly traded companies in the United States, kind of steers the market for us here. So I want to look at this, and this is exactly what we said was going to happen here as well. Had this ascending channel marked out for some time, looked great, bullish run. Everyone said this was the bottom, and we were just gonna get moving up as they sorted out the economy here again. So you can see we did a double top, and I don't have my lines anymore, unfortunately, but this is exactly what I said was going to happen. We were going to double top in here before dropping out. And that's exactly what happened. What I want to do, though, is zoom in to like the 5-minute chart of this, because this is really going to show you what happened at that time, which I think is personally fucked. So if we look at the close of the previous Friday, right? The week closed here on this line, okay? Monday morning stock market opens up $100 higher than it closed on Friday.
That's insane.
Do you know how much money that takes?
That's insane.
To move the market that much?
That's insane.
That takes a lot of money, okay? This is an after-hours trading, which is fine. They can do their after-hours trading, but you can't tell me that they weren't colluding to make that fucking jump.
And then
come
what
Monday
happens
morning.
that day? It just gets sold
And
off
then what
that whole
happens?
day.
What happens that day?
Basically just gets sold off the whole
We'll
day.
go out to the daily. Oh, fuck, I hate it when I do that damn brush. Oh.
Double down.
Double down. Where are we? Gotta get resituated here. Okay, so there's those two openings. So closed here Friday, looked good. That looked to me like it was supposed to just retest there. That would have confirmed the breakdown that I was talking about, but we actually did go for that double top. So we went back into the range here, got the double top, but the thing was that we closed in this range and opened up here, and then it dumped, right? So it jumped $100 that nobody could have even had any chance of being a part of because it happened in after hours trading. And then it dumps. Now we're going back below support that we were holding before.
So just soaking
right?
up the liquidity and taking off.
Yeah, it's
Manipulation.
It's all a game manipulated by the narrative in the market to take your fucking money. That really is all it is. They don't. There's no money to be made. The only people that make money is the Fed when they decide to fucking print it, which destroys the value of it. Right? The rest of us are out here just trying to take it from each other, and you can't fucking knock a guy for his hustle. But when you have an elite group of 1.5% or whatever, do you really think that they're not going to fucking get on board and try and cheat the system as much as they can because they have the weight to fucking lean the scale their direction?
And they want to hold on to their power.
Of course they're going to fucking do it. Of course they are. So
you would too.
Yeah, this is and so this is why we want to be aware of what that narrative is and try to be on the right side of it. We're never going to be 100% all the time, but we're going to try and be on the right side of these trades. And our best bet right now is to do that dollar cost average into this market, right? Because it's so uncertain.
For the next year, because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we might slow. What you would expect to see is a gradual move up over the next year, slowly, very slowly.
Slowly. So, and we're going to talk about, we're talking about making predictions here. This was my earlier prediction, and the line is like, it could drop to right here and only here, or whatever the case may be. But I do believe that we are going to break this low here
and make a lower low.
Yeah. So and the reason that I think this, so I'll explain the logic behind that, because when the Fed makes predictions of the interest rates that are going to come out in the future, we do that months in advance, right? So we had predictions and forecasts for 2023 come out in September, right? That's 4 months ago or whatever it was. And then we have new predictions in December that's going to tell us where their interest rates are actually going to go. So the September forecast was 4.5%, right? So December numbers come out and it's now 5.25. So it's 0.75 basis points higher than the September forecast for 2023, which potentially could maybe even bring it to 5.5 or 6%, right? So
2023 or 2022?
In 2023.
In 2023, okay.
In 2023. So
yeah, there's still room to go. Like
there's still room to go up. We still have another, almost 100 basis points.
Where our inflation year over year was, they're saying around in between 7 and 8%, that they're going to expect by the end of the year.
Right.
We know that's definitely not the case. It's much more than that. But that's what they base their strategy on.
Right.
So they're going to try and get interest rates at least 7%, 7 to 8% from where they were at the time, which was 0. So we're at what you said, 5.25 now. So we have
4.5.
4.5. So yeah, we have at least, they might not do it like they have for the last 6 consecutive months, but we're going to have at least every 2 or maybe 4 months they're going to do it for this whole next year, most likely to get to 7, right? So 2023 is going to be long, drawn out, and probably super boring, but it's going to be such a good time to start accumulating.
Exactly. And in my opinion, and we talked about this at the end of last year, that we were going to move into a deflationary period, and that's exactly what happened. We stopped printing money and we'd raise interest rate to kind of, soften the blow that the economy took to, during that relief for the pandemic that we had. So, and now we got to reset these indicators. So now this is why they slowed it down. So we had softer CPI numbers And this is what caused the hype in the beginning. So softer CPI numbers with the potential of interest rates coming in lower than the projected amount, which did happen. So what happens there? Massive spike in the market, brought it right back up, but the interest rate still goes up, and then people just dumped it again, right? So we know we have more interest rate hikes coming.
Yeah. There's still more incentive for people to put their money in US dollars.
Yep.
And that's what happens.
And that's what they want, right?
Yeah.
So all they can to do to try to hold power that long, what do they've just been trying to crush everything that isn't US dollar in its existence. That's all that's ever happened, and it's going to continue to happen until they lose their power of currency. I think that, like I said before, the Spaniards were the people who had power of currency for the longest.
Yeah.
And the U.S. has almost reached that number now.
And
too.
it's funny, and now we have blockchain and Bitcoin integrating into our lives. So it's obvious where things are going to go. It's just going to be a little bit of a rocky road to get there, because they're going to, just like it, they're going to do anything to try and hold on to their power as long as they can, right? And another thing they're trying to do too is do the CBDCs. Yeah, so slow it down. They also are trying to do their own thing.
Oh, CBDCs, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So trying to do their own thing to fight against it. So just vote no to CBDCs if you ever have the chance.
Man,
just use Bitcoin instead.
If you're use Bitcoin. If you're a cash is king person, just try to be a little more open-minded to having some of that somewhere else.
Bitcoin is so efficient.
When you're betting on the dollar, you're betting on what the U.S. government is doing to the world, right? And that's the reality. When you bet on any, I don't care if it's Canadian or a U.S. dollar. Like, we compare everything to U.S. dollar because that's what the world compares everything to, right? It's just the way it is. I don't care if you're Canadian or U.S.
Yeah, because we're in Canada here, but we just talk USD mostly.
That's what it is. That's what it is, right? So, if you think cash is king and you're betting on the U.S. government, and I guarantee you don't trust them. So I don't really understand that logic there. The connection isn't there for me. That's why I buy Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
But try to understand Bitcoin. And the other thing is too, is if you actually were, if you get to a point where you're a rich person, and this was mentioned by one of these other douchebags on the internet, but if I have $1 million that I want to send to someone in wherever
anywhere
across the world, wherever, I have $1 million. Okay, if I want to send that $1 million through the bank, how many questions do you think they're going to fucking ask? How many banks do you think are going to touch it? And how much of my fucking $1 million do you think is going to end up in their pockets?
How long is it going to take?
It's going to take 2 weeks.
They're going
to take fucking 3% or whatever the fucking case may be.
It's so bad.
Right?
I don't understand why people are still using traditional banking at all. It makes no sense to me.
Buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin, and I could send it to Spencer over in fucking New Zealand in fucking 30 minutes, and it would cost
far less.
Well, 3 minutes, and it would cost me 35 cents.
And he would be able to use it in half an hour.
Yes,
it would take a bit of time for the confirmations.
I was
to go through.
I was embellishing there, maybe,
but the thing is that crypto works so fast. Whenever you send something, it's lightning fast. It's literally as soon as you send it from one wallet to another, it shows up in that wallet, but it needs to get confirmed. So that's what can take a half an hour.
The max is going to be a half.
Yeah, and once it's confirmed, then you can then move it. But for me personally, everything that I've been doing lately, especially lately, like my Bitcoin has been moving so fast.
And for that $1 million, how much would you have paid in a percentage?
Yeah,
to keep the network going.
Yeah, exactly.
To send it.
Yeah, to fill. Think about how many pockets you have to fill to do that transaction
through the bank.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But in Bitcoin, you don't have to fill so many pockets.
A fraction. So and people see this now. People with money see this value now. So that's why Bitcoin will never go to fucking zero. It's never going to zero.
Never.
It's never going to zero.
Not a chance.
It's only going to go up, regardless of how volatile it is in the short term. It's only going up.
That's also why we see a lot of people hustling and scamming and doing all this stuff, because it's such a valuable commodity. It will be in the future as well, that they're scamming people to get your crypto.
It's the only real commodity in crypto, though, too, right? Like, people don't understand that too. It's a fucking it's a secure piece of digital energy with no issue. Right? Like, it's not. It's like nothing else that we've ever seen, right? And that's where that fear comes in, because people don't even understand it and can't even begin to comprehend it, which is why they're just like, fuck that, it's fucking nothing.
And then they're going to hate themselves for years later when they finally figure it out and go, wow, why didn't I do this years ago?
It's literally the most efficient.
I've done that. I did that same thing.
It's the most efficient thing to ever enter cyberspace.
It's amazing.
Right? So, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, people like SPF and stuff or do these big scams. Like you just said earlier, we don't think that he was necessarily
the head of that fucking, you know what I mean?
No, like he was.
Him and a 19-year-old girl were the ones steering that whole thing.
It's pretty crazy to imagine. Yeah, like with no official, like they're doing QuickBooks and like
you know what? If QuickBooks works, If it works, it works. Like, who gives a fuck what they use to run their books? But like, to be like, oh well, we shouldn't have trusted them. They used it QuickBooks.
I think that's funny.
Like,
I do think that's funny.
It is kind of funny.
I had to bring it
up.
up.
Fuck that. Like, okay, yeah, you know what? You got $32 billion. Maybe you should use fucking some. You know what I mean? But like, if QuickBooks works, I don't like that. To me, I don't give a fuck about.
Exactly. But what we were saying is still he's getting screwed over pretty bad for something that he potentially just played a face in. Right. Like it's there's a lot of things going on.
How heavily involved was he with the American government? Right.
Well, yeah, he was number 1 and number 2 on donors of Republicans and Democrats. Like,
so
they're 2 and 3 or whatever.
You know, I really feel he was taken advantage of because he might have had the intelligence to build certain things, and he might be super, super intelligent. But you can't tell me that guy was definitely fucking insecure and afraid of the other people around him. Like, look, I mean, look at the fucking way he held himself. He was like the most. Yeah. You know,
definitely a crook, but it's just there's a lot more to the story. Basically, is what it is, and
I believe personally that he was taken advantage of. You know what? I believe he was also a fucking crook, and he was happy to go and do what he was doing to benefit himself. I do believe that as well. But you know what I mean? From the beginning, I doubt that was his intent, and it fucking was way too much for him to fucking take on. Then he gets taken advantage of. Then the funds get overused and over leveraged, and he's fucking in way deeper than he ever fucking thought he was. And now he's going to jail, and he's scared shitless.
Yeah.
But I mean, rightfully so. But I don't believe that it was. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think when he started, it was like, I'm gonna go fuck everybody over. You know what I mean? Like, and so it got to his head. He was taken advantage of,
and I think other big players used his platform to take advantage of. Right?
But not only that, they took advantage of his platform because it was so large. Look at what the media did for crypto and Bitcoin during 2021 when we went in the bull run. Mm-hmm. Crypto was everywhere. Yeah, fucking crypto.com, BlockFi, use this, use that. Crypto fucking.com stadium, fucking Matt Damon was telling you to fucking buy fucking
and those were at all-time tops.
Kevin O'Leary
that's the reason why we started this podcast.
Kevin O'Leary
this is Matt.
Paid $15 million.
I don't want people that I know to be buying Bitcoin and crypto right now at an all-time high. Like, we started this
and getting
to stop you from buying Bitcoin at that point.
Well, DCA, in case it did go to 100K, we were,
but even then, like, we know since we've been in it for multiple cycles, we know that it does these runs, but then it goes back down 80-90%, right? So you just like you hop on board and you long it when it's happening and you have a good time, but like
and you have a good time.
But then you let people know it's time to get out when it's time to get out, because there's so many people that are going to do it anyways. You're like, if you want to ride hopium all the way up, then you're just going to get crushed. You got to be real.
One of the best things to understand is that one of the smartest guys in the world and one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the world didn't sell a single fucking one. Mm-hmm. He didn't sell a single one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to, but he continues to buy though too. Yeah. Right. So I mean, and you know, it's funny because his company, MicroStrategies, is actually they've done the best in the last year because they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. I believe, right? Their stock is actually doing better than anybody else in the S&P. So.
And you write it off as a loss.
Yeah.
So it's like tax evasion both ways. Like you collect money on lost money and then you make money on more money when it turns into more money in the future. It's pretty pretty smart.
So 2023 predictions here, like we're coming into the end of the year and you know, and I don't really see much here for this to catch. What do we got? Maybe something in here. Maybe something in here for support on the SPX here. So maybe this thing turns around and this actually was bottom, but I don't know. I may make a prediction that is wrong. I'm not always going to be fucking right 100% of the time, but I think this thing's going lower than that. Mm-hmm. Right? We've made some good predictions here,
it's just based
and we've called some excellent ranges for BTC.
Based on interest rate hikes, that's all it is. Right? Like that's what they're trying to do is they're trying to push things down. And so as long as we're aware of that, there will be a bottom eventually. Yeah, so I think there was just a relief. So if we're looking at this is the daily on the SPX. And I mean, that's got a fucking mile to go down to the oversold. So yeah, people don't really understand. Like they think it's bad now. It can get a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
It can get a whole lot worse.
And this actually, to me, even
before they start to turn around.
Even in the RSI, that actually just looks like distribution patterns. You know what I mean? So
like
sell-offs.
Yeah, it looks like it's going down hard.
Yeah.
On its way down.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's all we got?
I think so.
All right. Big Smug's out.
Peace. That was quite the quiet ending there. We're running out of shit to talk about. We basically market scoped the whole time there, though. But
yeah.
I guess we covered some things during that.
Yeah. That's all right.
I wanted to talk more about actually that hype that was created last year. So that basically every news and media outlet, the powers that be, fed you and fucking shoved Bitcoin down your throat, and then they dumped it all. Right? What does that do? That slows down the crypto and the Bitcoin market another couple of years. Right?
Exactly, for sure. And then meanwhile, they're DCAing the whole time, right?
Exactly.
And they're still pushing the stories to try and keep it down so they can continue accumulating. They're going to want to get just as much as they sold back, right?
So I meant to elaborate on that.
Yeah, but anyways.
Sounds like we got a little bit of after run here too.
Should be good.
Anyway, we're done.
Peace.